Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Before I Do, the show that covers what should be done before saying I do. This show is for those of you engaged, dating, want to be married, or not sure if you want to be married. Our goal is to facilitate courageous conversations on topics relevant to dating and relationships.
This is intended to be an interactive call and response experience. So feel free to share your thoughts, put it in the chat area. Your comments, questions are all welcome this evening.
Excellent. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Tonight's show is a continuation of our show from last week. For those of you who did not check out the secret list, once again, we all have them. Please be sure to go back and rewatch that. But tonight we have the burn. Now, I know we like our shows, but are we really burning stuff tonight? Is that what we're doing?
We are really burning stuff. Get your lighters out, people. Get your lighters, because there are things on your list that, we're going to straight up call burn notice. Okay. Some of those things on your list need to be burned. They need to be disposed of. And we're going to clarify just what that means.
I mean, as you know, this is, when it comes to burning and the ladies, this ever since Waiting to Exhale, y'all
you
just
went there. You went there. But since you said it, you right. Don't get us mad.
Ever since Waiting to Exhale and Left Eye, y'all just have fallen in love with wanting to burn stuff. But no, tonight is the secret checklist, burn notice. Some of those things on your list, some of them need to be set on fire, as we say in the South. So we're going to discuss that. So just a brief recap from what we discussed last week. We talked about your secret list. So do you need a list for what you want in a preferred partner? And overwhelmingly, you all responded with yes, you absolutely need a list. And Charmaine and I agree. It's important to have a list of those things that you would like to have in a mate. But what are some of the challenges that are associated with our checklist? We talked about those last week. Number one, pretending the list does not exist, or not having a list at all, not having a guide, or denying that you even have one. How do you know where you want to go if you don't have at least some type of direction or where it is that you want to go?
Preach.
Number two, sharing your list with the wrong people or at the wrong time. Some of us sit down during these dates and give people the whole playlist, as Charmaine would say, the whole playbook on exactly what they need in order to be able to get the prize or some of the things that they may want to get from you. Or as my homegirl Blue Bailey, shout out to Blue Bailey, sharing them with some of those dream killers. People who are not pouring into your life or going to speak life into the things that you want. And so it's not just those people that are sitting across the table from you on those first dates. Sometimes it's those girlfriends and those people that we call our friends who are not going to really speak life into the dreams that we want. Number three, refuses to update and revise our list. As we change, as we grow, as we mature, then the things on our list should change, grow, and be a reflection of our maturity and our state of mind as well. And last but not least, which is part of the focus tonight, not prioritizing our list. Does everything on your list, are we giving it the same value? Does it need to have the same value? So really great questions, really great time last week. I see we have some people on the line.
Shout out.
Look what we got, Charmaine. We got Cece. Cece said, oh, Lord, I think I'm ready. Shout out to Cece. So I think you ready as well. So we're going to talk about the thing.
She ready.
So what are we talking about this week, Miss Charmaine?
Okay, so this week we're going to continue to help you identify, first of all, what's on your list. Then we're going to help you prioritize what's on that list. And my favorite part of this session, we're going to have you get those lighters out. And there's certain things that we're going to call burn notice on. Some of the things on your list need to be taken off. All right, we're not going to hoard things that don't serve us well. So are you ready? Make sure you have your list out and get ready. Because again, some of those things, they got to go.
Yeah, and speaking of that checklist, once again, we're going to ask you to put in the chat, what are some of the things that you have on your preferred partner checklist? What are some of those things that are a part of your desires, things that you would like to have on the mate? Put them in the chat, and we're going to take a brief commercial break, and we'll be right back with more of Before I Do.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Before I Do. Tonight, we're talking about the secret checklist burn notice, and we asked you to put some of the items on your checklist in the chat, and I don't see any. So if you're scared, say you're scared. So if you're scared, say you're scared. But if you want to put those items in the checklist, in some of those items on your checklist in the chat, we would love to share them. But in the meantime, our focus tonight is on prioritizing that checklist. In other words, what are those things that are on your list? Miss Latour chiming in. She says, supportive and respective of my career. We talked about this when we talked about why should I get married, or if I knew then what I know now, as it relates to especially women not necessarily being supported by their mates on the professional side. So for a lot of women, it's very important that they have a partner and a mate that is going to support their professional career. So when we talk about your checklist, it is important for you to prioritize it. So question for tonight that we want to ask you all is, if you had to rank the things on your checklist, how would you go about doing that? But before we do that, we want you to scrutinize your checklist just a little bit. So if you got your checklist in front of you, a couple things that we want to ask you. First question is, what specifically is on your checklist? How long is your checklist? What are some of the things that are listed on your checklist? So be sure to put those things in the chat. Charmaine, you talked about some of the things that were on your checklist. I know that for me, it was family, it was humor, and it was definitely spirituality. It was an individual who also had a passion for the community, a person who had a heart for humanity. So, that someone that we could do community service projects and different things with. What were some of the other things that were on your checklist?
On my checklist, I definitely wanted a person who valued learning, a person that I could learn, we could learn together. We can explore new things. Family absolutely was important to me. And, just really being about family, but mainly spirituality was big for me. I knew that if I had someone that had a spiritual relationship with God, then they would constantly be committed to getting to know the evolution of me as I evolved throughout the years. But I will go back to the chat area. I want to shout out Miss Cece. She said no bitterness. I love the fact that the non-examples are there, because sometimes we may not be able to clearly define what we want, but we absolutely, the non-examples give us a lot of content for what we know we don't want. And so definitely no bitterness, man. So that means we need a person that's willing to do their work.
Absolutely. And then the question becomes too, for those non-examples, a really great strategy is flipping that around. So I would say the opposite of bitterness is joy. So I'm looking for somebody that is joyful. And joyful is something that comes from the inside. It's different than happiness. Happiness is based on something that happens. So when things happen and they happen well, then that's, I'm in a good mood. But joy is something that comes from the inside. Also, we got Michelle. She says honesty. So honesty is a really big, important trait. And then Mr. Tour, once again, empathetic, connection to God, emotionally gentle, and a good provider. Wow, emotionally gentle.
I love it. That's a bell moment right there.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. Adoration. Okay, so adoration. So Mr. Tour is talking about that's part of that chivalry, where a man, a partner who admires their mate in a way to where they show them respect. And I know sometimes I don't know if Charmaine ever catch me, but sometimes I just be looking at her in awe, just because of her beauty and all the things that I know that she's going through in her life. So again, some of the things on your checklist. Number 2, Charmaine.
All right. So the next thing is when. When did you add these items? I mean, if you still got the same stuff on your checklist that you had 30 years ago, and you haven't audited and to say, man, I put that on there 30 years ago. Some things are timeless now. Some things I don't think I'm ever going to take off my list. But when did you add them on your list? So we do want you to audit that. We want you to check it out, because things you might have wanted in your 20s, now that you're in your 50s, they may not be relevant anymore.
Absolutely. And so our good friend Nina chimed in. Nina says, as I get older, I realize displaying affection is important to me. So again, that's a really important point, that as you get older, as you change, as you go through life, some of the things on your list may appear and some of those things may disappear. So it's really important that you audit your list on a continual basis. And speaking of that, this is a big one. Who or where did the things on your list come from? There are certain things that are on our list that came from people that we admire, or that they may have come from things that we may have seen or even heard. So do we even really know if we like or want those things? But we saw possibly the way other people responded to them. We saw how other people were treated as far as when they had those things. So really, again, analyzing, okay, where did this thing really come from? Do I really want it, or do I want the happiness that I saw someone else have because they had it?
Absolutely. It goes back to, what motivated this thing to be on your list. Were you more motivated by society? Or did this come from inside out or outside in? And so we definitely often want to make sure it's germane, it's genuine and unique to us.
All right, Charmaine, number 3.
All right, the last one. Why? Why are these things important to you? So what is your why? All right, what is your why? And so, I know I've had, individuals saying, I just want a guy, that he has those 6 figures. And so, okay, why? Why do you need a gentleman? Why do you need a guy that makes 6 figures? Or I want a woman that has her own. Why? Okay. So as long as you have a genuine response to your why, and you know your why at your core, and it aligns with who you are and where you're trying to go and what you're trying to do, then that's important.
Yeah, what you'll find is that the what isn't necessarily the problem with your list. It's the why. It's the rationale and the thought process behind the things that you have on your list that will oftentimes trip us up in really being able to recognize if it's something that we really and truly need. So when we think about our list, what we want you all to do, for those of you who have your list, so if you had to, how would you rank the items that are on your list in order of importance? So for those of you who put in the chat some of the things that are on your list, where do those things rank on your list if you had to put them in an order of importance? And Charmaine, is it important for us to rank our list? Do you think that that's something that is necessary?
Absolutely. You want to sequence your list. And and especially, I've heard people that have 10 things on their list. Some people only have 5. And you have some people that have like 50. My goodness, you really want to prioritize. If your list is that long, you absolutely want to rank it and sequence it in order of importance. Because 9 out of 10 times, usually it's your top 5 things that are going to follow you. So if you have a list of 50 things, 9 out of 10 times, the 20, 45 of those things are going to be in alignment with your top 5.
And Charmaine, one of the ways that we can help rate some of the things on our list is what are needs versus the wants that are on our list, correct?
Absolutely. So we have our needs versus our wants. Is this something that you need in your life to, is this a need that you have or just a want? For example, when we think about some of the things that people put on their list that may not be timeless, again, do I need someone that has a spiritual relationship with God? For me, that's an absolute need for me, right? It's not a want. And so it's go through your list, and now you're going to write down, is this a need or is this just a want? And then next we have appreciation versus depreciation. Walter, what are your ideas on this?
Absolutely. So for those of you that have ever purchased a vehicle, right? This is one of the main things that people like to say, is that a car is a depreciating asset, that as soon as you drive it off the lot, the price starts to drop down. As opposed to purchasing a house or land, that's something that the longer you have it, the price goes up. So when you're looking at the things on your list, what things on your list are going to depreciate in value as time goes on, and what things on your list are going to go up? When we look at, for example, a person's physical appearance, the way they may look, is that something that's going to appreciate over time, or is that something that's going to depreciate over time? Is that something that is going to continue to hold value and be important to you, or is that something that may not matter as much, especially compared to some of the other things that you may have on your list?
And then our next one would be required versus preferred. This one is powerful as well because, again, this speaks to expectations and boundaries. So what do you require in your life? For example, words are definitely important to a lot of people. So what if you have somebody in your life that, man, they can be sweet and gentle with their words, but then on the next breath, not so sweet and gentle. And so it goes back to, what are those things for you that that I don't know if I have enough grace in this area to handle that. So what are your requirements versus your preferences? Again, some people it's education, it's cultural connections, it's spirituality, it's financial. What's required, what's preferred? Go ahead and audit your list and identify those items.
And we see that oftentimes even on job postings, where they have the minimum, the required things, but they also have those preferred things. And what's interesting about that is that there are certain people who will not apply simply because they do not have the preferred. So they may be strong in the things that are being required, but because they don't necessarily have the preferred, they won't even apply for it. How many people are not even applying to be in your life because they may not have some of the things that you prefer?
And ladies, we are guilty of that. 80% of us will not apply for a job if we do not have at least 80% of the required things for that job. And so we gotta be bold and push through.
Absolutely. Now, I want to curb everybody's enthusiasm on this one, because everything can't be a deal breaker now. Everything on your list, all 55 items cannot be a deal breaker. Deal breakers are things that are part of your core values, your principles. These are things that if this person does not have this is going to be detrimental to not only the relationship, but also to me individually. I am compromising my values and my principles with some of these particular things. So it's important that you not only identify them, but move those things as far up your list as you possibly can. And those are things that will really help you to delineate between the individuals that you may have a future with, or some of the people that you may not necessarily be able to move forward with.
And the last one on our list is consider what you have been attracting and why. When we're auditing our list, man, what have I been attracting in my life? Does it align with this list? Because if what I've been attracting has nothing, I'm not even seeing any of the things on my list and what I'm attracting, then we definitely want to continue with some self-reflection work.
Absolutely. So, Charmaine, we've had them to prioritize their list. I'm going in the chat right now, and Nina says that in hindsight, a growth mindset would be a required character trait. So an individual that has a growth mindset, that is always focused on getting better, learning, being a lifelong learner. So really important. And LaBridget says, interesting that when things went bad, it now feels like all the needs, requirements, and must-haves I had are a problem. But they were no problem as long as things were hidden. People must be honest about who they are, or the list will blow up. Yeah, Charmaine, I heard you ring the bell for Nina, but we definitely got to ring the bell for LaBridget on that one as well.
Absolutely.
And speaking of blowing up stuff,
it's time, ladies and gentlemen. We ready. All right. So, question number 3, the moment I have been waiting for, it is the next question: which items on your list should be burned and why? It is burn notice time, people. Yes, you heard it. Burn notice. Get your lighters, get ready. What items need to be taken off your list. So what is a burn notice? A burn notice is an official statement issued by an intelligence agency. We are the intelligence agency, your relationship coaches, and we're here to say that typically when an intelligence agency issues a burn notice, they're pretty much making a statement that there's an unreliable source. There is some fabrication, there's something that is inaccurate that we are no longer vowed to, meaning we need to cut ties with this. So this is about taking things off your list that are not serving you well. And so we're going to give you a couple of things that we want you to consider and think about.
Yeah, but before we do that, we're going to take a quick commercial break so you all can go get your matches, go get your lighters, make sure your list is close, and we're getting ready to come back with more of Before I Do the Secret Checklist. We'll talk about burn notice. We'll be right back. All right, everybody. Back to Before I Do the Secret Checklist. We're talking about the burn notice. What items on that checklist that you have need to be burnt up, need to be set on fire. So, Charmaine, can you give us that reading again? What is a burn notice again? Because I like the show. Shout out to Michael Weston. For those of you who are burn notice fans, it was one of our favorite shows as a couple. And so, can you give us the definition of a burn notice again, please?
Again, a burn notice is an official statement used by an intelligence agency to pretty much communicate that an intelligence source is no longer reliable for one of several reasons, usually because something has been fabricated, something is inaccurate, something is no longer accurate. And so therefore we're unofficially, we're not going to vow to it. We're not going to be committed to it. We're canceling the covenant, the contract with this, because again, something isn't right. So again, this is about asking yourself, are you still committing yourself to things on this checklist that are not serving you well? Things that are not aligned in alignment with who you are, your principles, and your core values. And so the first thing, all right, Walter and I, we're going to encourage you to burn on your list. Get ready, check your list. Is there anything on this list that shifts ownership? Ownership now. So there's times where we might have somebody say, well, a client say, well, they don't make me happy anymore. Okay. Who is in control of your happiness? That's the first question we're going to say. There's control, there's influence, and there's concern. And so does your partner have control over your happiness, or do they only have influence? You are in control. So take off anything on that list that takes away your power and gifts it to someone else. Because if you don't take ownership of your mood and those types of things, and you place it in the hands of other people, then that makes you vulnerable to their behavior. It makes you vulnerable to their ideas, thoughts. And in that way, you've definitely given up your own power and your own control. And we want to empower you to know that you are in control over your mood.
And Charmaine, that's so powerful, because there is a big difference between ownership and partnership. Mm-hmm. And as a partner, I absolutely want to make you happy, but the things that make you happy shift and change all the time. So maybe, I have a joke with Charmaine where when it comes to snacks and different things she like, there's no warning. It's just a royal decree. I no longer eat this. I eat this. That is all. Well, that is all. Well, what's so
dramatic?
And
Don't believe in y'all.
I just got to figure it out.
Don't believe in y'all. It's not like that.
If it was my responsibility, if I was the one that was responsible for making her happy, I would be lost. But the point is that I am in the relationship to partner with her on her happiness, to partner with her on her success, to partner with her on her individual well-being, but she retains ownership of that. And so, number two, the second thing that you need to burn on that list are unbalanced expectations. Expecting something from your partner that you are not even willing to expect from yourself. Charmaine talked earlier about your partner making six figures. What's wrong with you making six figures? About your partner needing to have $1 million house. You're not aspiring to have $1 million house for yourself. So some of the things that we actually have on our checklist for individuals are in replacement of things that we should actually be pursuing for ourselves. So it's really important that it's one thing to have a partner who is going to add to us and is going to journey with us on the path of where we are going. And it's another thing for us to recruit somebody to get us somewhere that we're not willing to go and push ourselves.
Absolutely. And we are in partnership to help each other be our best selves. But it's a difference when you have a higher expectation for them and a lower expectation for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to watch that. All right, burn notice. Number three. All right, rigid preferences.
You have to use my picture though. You have to. I don't like. That's what I look like without my shirt off, y'all. You have to use.
Yeah, y'all don't hate. Y'all don't hate now. Close your eyes for some of y'all. All right, but rigid preferences. So if you're around here saying, she got to have like a triple D cup size, she got to have she has to have these curves, she has to be a bottle cap, or he has to be 6'2" in height with dreadlocks, washboard abs. I mean, the question becomes is, these are kind of rigid, but when you 80 years old, are those things going to still be a priority? So again, our question as coaches would be, do you want a sex story? Do you want a love story? Or do you want a life story? Because in a life story, you're going to go through different cycles. So that would be something that's not really timeless. So, but if it's for you, if that matters to you, then keep it on your list. But we're saying be mindful of rigid preferences that won't often live through a life cycle of a relationship.
Absolutely. And that goes back to that conversation about required versus preferred. Oftentimes we can miss individuals that have a lot of the redeeming qualities that align with our values and our principles because we're too busy looking at the preferred or the lack thereof. So it's very important that we align our list and burn those preferences,
right,
just because the package that it showed up in wasn't what I was expecting for it to look like. All right, number 4, pursuing or lusting after somebody who is unavailable, somebody that's already married, somebody that's already in a relationship. Studies show that people pursue married and people that are in a relationship because they display those values and things that show that they can be competent in a relationship. But pursuing someone that is already in a relationship or that's already married is an absolute detriment to your individual well-being. And also think about it. Can you really trust somebody that would leave a relationship to be in a relationship with you? Most marriages fall apart when a person leaves for the affair partner because there can't be an establishment of trust because they had to break trust in order to be in a relationship with you. So pursuing someone that's unavailable, lusting after somebody that's already in a relationship is one of the things you absolutely need to burn if a person or a name is on your checklist.
Now, there's a whole list of women that had Luther Vandross on their list back in the day. He was unavailable.
Luther ain't want y'all no
way. There's a lot of people.
Luther ain't want you no way.
There's still some people that got Denzel. He a classic. He on that list, but y'all know Denzel married, okay? And so just be mindful of that because first of all, your person is definitely when you're ready, your person gonna be there, right? And so, but that is a very powerful thing. And the last thing we want to call burn notice on. All right, check your list. Here it comes. Burn notice. All right. If you have anything on your list that is out of alignment with your spiritual beliefs. So if you are a spiritual being and you have a spiritual belief system, if it is out of alignment, for example, if you believe in God and it's outside of God's will and plan, why is it on your list? All right. So definitely you audit everything. Is this God's will for my life? Is this God's plan for my life? And if it's not, then it needs to absolutely come off of that list. Because if you get what you asked for and it's out of God's will, I'm sure you're not going to be happy with it. Okay. Judge Judy quick to say, hey, she picked him. When people in court suing the girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever, they'd be like, she picked him or he picked her. So be mindful of that. But if you're not a spiritual person, then you want to measure the things on your list in full alignment with your core values. What are your core values and what are your principles? Things that we really get to the core of during our sessions. And so this is how you live, you breathe, you guide your life through your core values and your principles. They're always going to show up.
Yeah, for those of you who are spiritual, we strongly advise you to pray and take your list in prayer under advisement and ask that God will show you what's in your heart and again why, and allow the Lord to guide you as to what needs to be on your list, and also that your eyes will be open so that you would be able to recognize the person that he has for you. Can I give a quick testimony?
Absolutely.
Can I give a quick testimony? So what was interesting, right? So with some of the things and the things that we go through with you all, these are things that we have lived as well. So
Absolutely.
as you all see, my wife is beautiful. She's smart. She's intelligent. On the inside, I'm just saying.
He flirting with me, y'all. He flirting with me. I see what you're doing. And you fine and cute too.
So she was everything that I was looking for, but on the outside, she didn't look like how I thought my spouse was going to look. She actually looked better, different, right? But here's the challenge: on the physical, what I had modeled it was actually based on what my brother wanted. So based on what he heard, when he saw, I'm like, yeah, that does look good, and so I began to want what he wanted, not because I wanted but because that was the model that he had presented, and he was somebody that I admired. But again, I was more focused on those core values, those things that were inside of her. So everything that was in my top 5, that was in my top 10, those things that were important to me, I've been blessed to build a marriage and a life with that person. And yeah, she hold me accountable for my physical, because my wife, she's athletic build, and so I can't run around gaining weight and letting myself go. She's not gonna let that happen because of how she keeps up with herself. And so again,
I don't know about all of that, but thank goodness for my husband during the pandemic, because we've been walking trying to keep these pounds down because they was building up. We was stacking on stacks, and then the wrong kind of stacks we wanted. So, but no, I'm very thankful for my husband, y'all, my friend, my love. Again, speak those things that you want and believe that they will be possible. And again, age does not limit the power and authority of what God can do in your relationship. And so you want love at 60, guess what? You can have love at 60. You speak it, you believe it. And we believe in partnering with every couple who definitely desires, and every individual who desires to be happy and to be in a loving relationship with themselves and with someone else.
Absolutely. Hey, y'all, that's been our show for this evening. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Before I Do. So if you got those lighters, be sure to go ahead and burn those things on your list that you don't need to have. I'm going to put that up one more time.
Yes.
And also, too, we got a special announcement for you all. So next week, we are actually going to be on location. We're not going to tell y'all where we are before we are actually taking a vacation. Charmaine and I, she's going to be coming back from out of town. I miss my baby. And listen, Before I Do is going to be live on location. We taking y'all with us. That is y'all.
Yes.
What are we doing next week? And so we're going on a vacation. Before I do, it's going to be live. And I will give you a hint. We're going to be international, y'all.
International.
Also, too, the time and the topic for next week.
Are you ready?
Since we started this show. Mama's boys and daddy's girls.
Come on, say it one more time. One more time.
Our topic of discussion for next week. Mama's boys and daddy's girls.
We need some support groups out there.
The stories, the drama, the lessons.
Are you dating or have you been in a relationship with a mama's boy or a daddy's girl? Well, this is the show for you. Invite a friend, invite a friend, invite a friend. This is going to be a support group, and we're going to give a moment of silence for all of those. Yeah. Next week, tune in.
I got to do better. It starts with me. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to Before I Do. Join us next week, same time, same place. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and download the Couples Academy app. We'll see y'all next week. Peace, y'all.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.